dig in, Watchmen so much, had to break out all of my favorite characters.
Oh, yeah. Why is Dr. Manhattan so large? But it is very nice that they left the underwear on.
Yeah, that's a fortunate thing, you know, but he's omnipotent, you know, it makes sense that he's so large. And I'm glad that you brought the Rorschach to join the comedian. Comic fam, thank you for joining us today. It's Friday, and what do we do every Friday?
We are going to bring the top 10 comics sponsored by Key Collector Comics.
That's right. The top 10 hottest comics of the week. We cover it every single week. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our comic-themed content. And Key Collector Comics, the sponsor of the show. This is the best comic book collecting app that exists on the market. And if you go to that main page and look for the logo, you can put in Tom101 in the discount code and get a free week subscription. It's going to unlock the full features of this application, and it's going to enhance your collecting. Let's jump into this list at number 10 because we have another Spawn book making the list. Is the Spawn craze ending anytime soon? Well, it's still by 300, so not yet. All right, so what's going on? Well, over this last week, we had McFarlane making an appearance at the Alamo Draft House. This is a small, intimate signing that was open to the public with the promise of a lot of different things. Individuals went and got a screening of the 90s movie. They got to meet McFarlane, got to get things signed, and there was a couple comic books that were available. And there are two that is actually sharing the spot at number 10 on the list. We have issue 300 and 301, the Alamo Drafthouse variants. And right now, the black and white 300 is going for $60 on average. And we're seeing a high of the 301 hit $100. What's interesting is there is a sale for a set of both that had 3 signatures on each comic, and they sold for $600 for the pair.
That is crazy. I mean, it's great to get them signed. None of these are actually CGC slabbed or witnessed.
No, and what's also intriguing is that I looked on the site and it was promised that you would get 1 signature per person. So either this person got lucky and went through that line multiple times, or maybe McFarlane was doing them a solid. Regardless, these books are spiking. Let's keep an eye out. I mean, homages for 300 are hot. We have an homage to 300 on 301. That's hot. What do we got at number 9?
Number 9 this week, we have Planet of the Nerds number 1, which is from Ahoy Comics. Now, this comic came out a little while ago, and it's brought to us by artist David Nakayama, who started out working on City of Heroes comics. He did some stuff for Top Cow. He was actually working under Mark Silvestri, but this book has been optioned. Now, Paramount has picked up the option for this book, and the idea is that we have jocks from the 1980s who have been cryogenically frozen and have woken up now when the nerds rule everything.
You hear right now, like, you know, before, it wasn't cool to be into comic books, but now it's a cool thing. This is like the comic book that has taken that idea to print.
And this is really kind of a cool idea. And since, well, most of us are pretty engrossed in nerd culture, this is something that all of you should be really interested in. Now, the prices have been as low as $3 and as high as $10, and this might be the point in time to start thinking about picking these up. Books like this are really interesting because you're generally going to see a peak really, really quickly, and then it kind of dies off for the next few months. And then when they actually have an idea of when it's actually getting released, when they've actually put casts into it, then it's going to spike again. So this is one of those books that you just got to kind of ride out the wave of speculation on this one.
Yeah, wait out for that second peak there, because if you're not looking to hold on to this long term, you're going to want to flip it around that time. We're seeing highs of $45 for this book at 9.8. 1,800% increase in copies sold in a week. People are picking this up. This is in dollar bins. All right, let's take a look at number 8. We have more Shang-Chi news. Okay, giant size Master of Kung Fu. Issue number 4 making the list. We have the first appearance of Tiger Claw. This is a book that's going for, on average, $20, and we're seeing a high sale of $138. What news came out? Well, we have a little bit of a potential synopsis. I mean, these are all rumors and it's very early, but this is what's being rumored. Well, courtesy of MCU Cosmic, we have a lineup of villains that are being rumored to be featured in this movie. The first villain, not Tiger Claw, Steel Claw. Not sure who that is, but the spec is that it's the same character, and maybe this is just a alternative name that they're using for this particular villain. But there's also more villains that they're specking on. We have Moving Shadow, Razor Fist, Ghost Maker. That's a lot of villains to be featured in this movie. Are we going to see like a Spider-Man 3 type of situation? Well, I don't think so, because the rumor is that this movie is going to be following like an underground tournament that's going to take place, maybe like a Mortal Kombat type of situation. So a lot of opportunity to have characters be introduced. That has this book spiking 1,000% in copies sold in just 1 week. I encourage the community to go over to Key Collector and check out the category, The Deadly Keys of Shang-Chi, because if these characters make the list, well, there may be others, and this category has a bunch of them for you to consider.
Coming in at number 7 right now, we have X Factor number 23. Now, this is interesting because I know we had talked about some controversy with this, and I've always known about X Factor 24. What's the deal with this book, Tom?
All right, X Factor 23 is making the list this week, and I have a feeling it's because we have brought this book up on the mic a couple times over this last month.
Right.
And Nick from Key Collector actually posted to the ComicTom101 blog a full article about this book. X Factor 23, which if you comment down below, it'll enter you to possibly win a copy this week. It's going to be the first giveaway of 2 we're doing this show. Features multiple panels of the Angel of Death, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And that Angel of Death is later renamed as Archangel. And although he appears on the cover of issue 24, and many dealers and collectors have credited issue 24 as the first full appearance. I mean, even CGC labels it as the first full appearance.
Right.
There are multiple panels showing Angel with his metal wings in issue 23. We have another first appearance controversy on our hands that's causing a book to spike, one that came out many, many years ago and now getting some more appreciation for the first time in quite a while. This book has seen a staggering 1,400% increase in copies sold in just a week. Average sales are $10, but we're seeing a height sale of $65.
That is a big, big spike for a book like this, Tom.
And this next book on the list has got me super surprised. What do we got at number 6?
Well, we have been talking so much about a new female Thor, but we're not talking about Jane Foster. This is crazy. Coming in at number 6, we have Dead Man Logan number 11. We have Danny Cage, who is the daughter of Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, holding Mjolnir and becoming the new Thor. Now, the reason why Dead Man Logan 11 is on this list is because people hadn't really thought much of this character, but we now have confirmation that there is an upcoming miniseries called Avengers of the Wasteland. And it looks like there's kind of a kid Hulk and kind of a kid Ant-Man, and you've got Danny Cage, who is standing up there holding Thor's hammer. So this book is going solidly for $12 with high sales up to $20. And while it's only gone up 218% in the last week, watch this book, because as more people become aware of what's going on, you're going to see Dead Man Logan 11 spiking.
That's right. And this run, Dead Man Logan, people loved it. And because it was an alternative reality, when this happened, people didn't really think much of it. They didn't think this character would have more things to do in the MCU, but now we're seeing it continue in this new miniseries. Boom, people specking and they're picking it up now. Got to keep an eye on this character.
Keeping in the daughter theme, number 5 this week, we have Batman Beyond number 25. Now, this is crazy because it's the first Elena Grayson who's Dick Grayson's daughter. Well, we're not 100% certain on this one, but there is good speculation that Dick Grayson's daughter, Elena, could very well be the next Batwoman Beyond, which we talked about last week because of her first appearance in Batman Beyond number 37. So a whole year ago, number 25 came out and introduced this character. She hasn't taken the mask off yet. We don't know what's going on, but this book is going for $7, which doesn't sound like a lot until you take into consideration that it was the month that they sent out a bunch of foil covers. DC didn't do a very good job of packaging these foil covers. They were very, very slick. I know that we actually sent back half of ours and got replacements. So this is a very condition-sensitive book, and if this turns out to actually be who it is, this book's going to see a heavy spike in the future.
And we don't even know if it is this character. No one knows, but 2,700% increase in copies sold. People spec'd on that Batwoman comic, and now they're going through trying to figure out who she is. All right, let's take a look at the list here at number 4. Death of the Inhumans, issue number 1. First appearance of Vox, a character Donny Cates created. Now, we'll get into why this is spiking in a second, but average sales for a first print copy is $5, $50 for a 9.8. It's a cool skull cover. Now, this is one of those situations, though, where the design cover, that variant, is taking the cake. People want that over cover A.
Oh, yeah.
And that variant in high grade is going for $100 strong. Why are people looking at this book all of a sudden? Well, because we have solicitations for the up-and-coming Captain Marvel 12. We know we are getting a dark version of Captain Marvel, but we also got a preview of the inside. And we see a character called Supreme Vox. So that has people specking on Vox as a character. But it's interesting that it's a different name and a slightly different character design. So is this speculation, warranted? Well, we're going to find out soon, but people are specking on Captain Marvel 12 for a good reason. It's a Donny Cates character. And you know what? 550% increase in copies sold. That's a serious number. So for a character that looks as cool as this, it makes sense to me, but it's a different name. It might be an entirely different character.
Definitely. And again, I really love my superheroes with sour cream and guacamole.
Supreme Vox. You got to make the Supreme Taco Bell references. And we got Dead Man coming on the list at number 3. Let's get to it.
Number 3, we have Strange Adventures number 205, which is the first appearance of Dead Man, also known as Boston Brand. Now, we had confirmation this week that HBO Max is going to be releasing a Strange Adventures TV show. We're not quite certain what this is going to be, but we've heard that it's going to be an anthology-style show. We could very well have Adam Strange showing up. We could very well have Boston Brand showing up. We know that Nicholas Turturro has been doing a fantastic job of his voice on the DC Justice League Dark animated series.
Dude, are we going to see freaking Animal Man? What is going on? This is so exciting.
There's a bunch of good options, especially since Strange Adventures introduced a lot of great characters during the Silver Age. But because it's an anthology, we have 2 giveaways right now. Tales from the Crypt, one of the most classic anthology comics. Here's a reprint of the first Tales from the Crypt, but we're going to go you one better. Same person who wins, comments, likes, subscribes down below, is going to get a Golden Age Journey into Fear number 8. This is from Superior Comics. This is from the early 50s. Super, super cool book.
All right, but this book, first appearance of Dead Man, Strange Adventures 205 making the list. This is a book a lot of collectors are after. It's similar to Moon Knight in that there hasn't been a whole lot of stuff happening outside of like cartoons and stuff, but when this comic comes up, people are after it hard.
Every single time I find one of these books, they sell, and they sell really, really well. So we're seeing average sales of $175, which is kind of like a mid-grade book there, but the top sale was $15.75 for a CGC 9.0.
Now, that is a good amount of money, but for that book in high grade, it's tough to find. But here we go. 800% increase in copies sold in 7 days for this character, this book. That's huge. Now, another character that surprised me this week is number 2 on the list. We have Jenica making the list again. TMNT issue number 95. We're putting just cover A on the list at number 2. Average raw sales for this book is $25. We're seeing high sales of $140. That San Diego Comic-Con variant is still selling strong. People are after it. Those prices are still creeping up. I think it's because we are approaching that 100 milestone marker, and Jenica hasn't really done a whole lot. She was barely in issue 99, so people are still putting money against this. And I also found it interesting that this 750% increase in copies sold in 7 days was largely from one seller. It was like a bunch of auctions that all went off at one time. People bought this book in mass. This is something that I expect to see happening in the future again. A lot of people bought a ton of copies of this book. So when they decide to let them go, they're letting them go all at once. So if you're patient on auction, you may be able to snag one a bit cheaper.
In case you weren't paying attention, we have 2 weeks left to sign up for the mystery mail call. We send out fantastic comic books for one really low price, and our exclusive this month is the Undiscovered Country from Image Comics. This looks fantastic with exclusive art by Danny.
That's right. Every member of the November Mystery Mail Call gets an exclusive, a Comic Tom Mill Geek exclusive. And this book is so dope. I read the Ash Can. I'm excited. I have high hopes for this title, and a lot of members are excited to get it. So go to the description, join the community, help support the show, and we'll also send you some comics every month. All right, Russ, at number 1 on the list, we got some Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore goodness. You got to just take it over, my man.
Oh, absolutely. So number 1 on the list, we have Miracle Man number 1. This is from 1985. This is Alan Moore's, well, it's a big thing that Alan Moore did. And Alan Moore did it for a few issues. We did until about Death of Kid Miracle Man, and then Neil Gaiman took over, and then Eclipse went out of business. And pretty much Neil didn't get to finish his story. And then about 15 years after that, it was still in litigation, and no one could reprint trades, and the only way you could get these stories was buying the single issues. Well, when they finally stopped being in litigation, Marvel reissued a bunch of the Alan Moore stories, and we're going to reprint the Neil stories, but they didn't. So
it's like they almost do it,
right,
and then it doesn't.
We still can't finish it.
But then Marvel 1000 happened.
I know. And Marvel 1000, we actually had Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham doing a page with Miracle Man on it, and they've been talking for over a year now that Neil and Mark are working on new stories. We hope this happens. We're getting closer and closer to confirmation every single day from this, and rumors keep happening that it's going to happen. But with Marvel 1000, it pushed us even closer. So, number 1 from 1985, making number 1 on the list this week. $12 is the average raw sale, and I know we've seen this go for more, but $12 average raw sale, $120 for a 9.8.
Dang, for that book. And there are some scarce variants of that issue too that we've covered in the past. But you know what? What I'm excited for is a 566% increase in copies sold. People are going to be getting into this run again. It's mature. It's dark.
Oh, yeah.
It's really good.
It really, really is. And this is one of those things that you need to read it. It's really just one of those, you have to read Sandman, you have to read Miracle Man. There's just a couple of these things that are going to blow your mind. It's a Watchmen type thing before Watchmen. It's a V for Vendetta type thing before V for Vendetta. You really get to see Alan Moore honing his skills, and I'm really excited to see Neil Gaiman take this torch and run with it.
Use code TOM101 to get a free week subscription to Key Collector. It's only $2 a month to get the full feature, or you can actually save yourself 2 months and pay $20 for the entire year. $20, you're going to find one comic book, guarantee it right out the gate the first time you hunt, that's going to pay for the whole subscription. Guarantee it. It happens every time.
Totally.
So use that code, support the show, enhance your collecting, and thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate your time. As always,
Geek responsibly.
Enough said. Brandon Shue, you won our copy of Doomsday Clock, issue number 1, the first appearance of the new Rorschach. And we're also sending Quiet Storm 76, a copy of Danger Unlimited, issue 4, signed by the King of Negative Space. Nice. We have a John Boy print going out to Tyler McDonald. You click over here, you can check out our podcast that we release every single Sunday. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. Have a great weekend.